It's a little overwhelming to see him in the flesh for the first time. Tall and heavily built, he still has the physique of the boxing champion he once was. In any public gathering, he's head and shoulders above the crowd, and if that isn't enough to make him stand out, his reputation certainly is. The man who expelled 40,000 Asians from Uganda. The man who said Hitler was right when he murdered 6 million Jews. The man who is said to have liquidated up to 250,000 of his own people. The author of outrageous telegrams to political leaders throughout the world. His Excellency, Field Marshal Dr. Amin Dada, VC, DSO, MC, possessor of almighty power and knowledge, lord of the clans and the land, the father of all twins, the cook with all the firewood, the lord of the shield and spears, the Queen Termite, the President of the Second Republic of Uganda. With respect, sir, I asked this question, do you think you're a tough man?
Yes, I am. I am very tough, yes. And I will never give up. If I wanted to do something, I will never change my mind.
Is that a good or a bad thing in a political leader, toughness?
Toughness is good because the people respect you, and tough man is a quality which you can find for the high command, because when he gives order, they know that that order is given by the strong man and must be obeyed. That is very important.
For a country which has supposedly thrown off the yoke of British colonialism, Uganda still retains a strong legacy from the days when it was an outpost of Queen and Empire. The band plays on while the arrival of His Excellency is awaited. Idi Amin loves public ceremonies, especially when he's the centre of attention. And in Uganda, that's all the time.
Thank you so much for everything. Thank you very much. Well, we enjoyed it very much. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
And Amin's speech is almost a self-parody. Sometimes he genuinely means to be humorous, and he can count on getting a good laugh from his admiring, not to say overawed audience. But at other times, the humour is unintentional. Here at a clothing factory, part owned by Japanese interests, the Field Marshal was obviously trying to be nice to his international guests.
I am always speaking the truth and the frank, and I have been in Japan during the Second World War myself, and I know Japanese members of the armed forces and the Japanese themselves are one of the best fighters in all types of war. If you want a suicide pilot, you will get from Japan. If you want a really jungle warfare or guerrilla warfare, Japanese are the best, because I have seen this.
But now, since 1972, from 73 we put up a trousers plant, which was not there before. It is now functioning fully. So, Your Excellency.
This clothing factory is one of the biggest industries in Kampala. Amin has made it clear that he welcomes overseas investment within certain guidelines, and the Japanese investors in this company have good reason to thank him. Since the departure of the Asians, with their stranglehold over distribution throughout Uganda, the company's profits have soared. Amin chalks it up as a significant victory in what he calls the economic war, which he began with the expulsion of the Asians. In Kampala, tall modern buildings and a boom in the construction industry are signs that the Ugandan economy is far from collapse. But the buildings are financed by international aid, much of it from Arab countries, and the external appearance of the city hides some serious economic problems in day-to-day life. Despite some press reports to the contrary, this is not a city or a country that's falling apart at the seams economically. In the streets of Kampala, the cars are modern and kept in reasonably good condition. And the shops too, once the economic stronghold of the Asians, seem to be reasonably well stocked and well run. Of course, that's not to deny that there are serious shortages here from time to time. Salt and sugar can be enormously hard to get, and we've found it very hard to get a beer in our hotel from time to time. But there's no poverty here. You won't see any beggars in the streets. And despite the fact that I may get impatient that only 1 out of the 3 lifts in our hotel has worked during the week we've been here, that perhaps is only a white man's impatience, not shared by native Ugandans. Some consumer items are enormously expensive, and the price of everyday essentials like flour and bread is very high. Before Amin expelled them, almost every business along this road was owned by Asians, descendants of the indentured labour brought in by the British. In 1972, Amin gave the Asians 90 days to get out of Uganda. Their businesses were confiscated and handed over to native Ugandans. Now the signs over the shops have African names. It was a move that made Amin popular with his people, but it left the country perilously short of skilled professionals to run everyday services.
And therefore you should inform your country that we here in Uganda are now in position to work with the all-world community. We can employ them, we can give them responsible position in our Uganda. Even if we find that in that particular area we need somebody in ministerial level, we can put him, whether it's Russians or Americans or British or African. I want just to, or Indian, I will put there. This I just wanted to inform you, because what we are interested is to see that it is the money management of that particular departments. This is very important for us. I thought that I should tell you. And with that, we can even run our administration very smoothly.
There's no doubt that whatever the rest of the world thinks about him, Idi Amin is popular with black Africans. His strident nationalism and the flamboyant, if somewhat crude way he criticises his old colonial masters has earned him admirers outside Uganda, who see in him a black leader who refuses to play the game by the white man's rules. And if that means that Uganda has to go without some of the benefits of the white man's society, that's all right too. Africans point to the richness of their own culture as something worth preserving, and which is imperiled by the imposition of Western-style governments and economic systems. If this is the man who's responsible for the death of nearly 250,000 of his people in a bloody reign of terror, it was impossible to see that reflected in the faces of the people who came out to see him. Ours was a carefully guided tour, and we were under constant observation by Amin's government officials. If there was any truth in the dark rumours about the early days of his regime, it seemed particularly unwise to pursue them. A political leader who wears a pistol during a television interview is a force to be reckoned with. You're a very popular leader with your own people.
Yes.
What do you think explains that?
Because I am not cut off completely from my people, and I make myself as simple to the people to be approached. I can talk to them and I can solve their problem, and I can allow a group of the people to talk to me, put their complaint rather than being stopped by anywhere. I go to them and they know that whatever they want to be solved, I can solve for them, and that make them have a confidence in me.
Do you maintain still a non-aligned status in world powers? Do you have a favourite, as say Russia versus America?
That is their own internal problems between Russia and American. I don't want to interfere there, because what I want from Russia should not be stopped by Russian, by American, and also I can buy anything, as I was saying here, that